will not be playing January football. That's just not what I'm going to do, because I saw them go from being a 7-9 mediocre team to win a Super Bowl the next year, and we've seen it so many times in the league. But it is an uphill climb. That said, there's a lot of reasons to be tantalized by what you're hearing out of Eagles camp this summer. All right, let's start off with the Sirianni offense, what you're going to be getting. So Hurts is the quarterback. He can move, he can run, but remember last year with the Colts, they had Jonathan Taylor as like their every down back. Let's go. That's going to be Miles Sanders, all right? Then they had Nyheim Hines out of the backfield. That's going to be Gainwell, the rookie, who they love, and they think he's going to get a big role in this offense. And then you look at the wide receivers. Mentioned Devontae Smith, finally playing again. He's a Heisman Trophy wide receiver. Everyone raves about him. Rager, last year's first-round pick that everyone is shaking their fist about. He's apparently playing really well. And then I'm going to go to my guy. Quez Watkins is your number 3. Quez Watkins is your number 3. Quez Watkins lit it up last... Yeah, shush. People don't want to hear about it. Guess what? It's no sleeper anymore.
He should race Usain Bolt. Never mind.
Watkins had that huge breakout game, but he's had an outstanding summer. So there you have 3 wide receivers. You got the 2 tight ends who are still there. You got Tyree Jackson, the converted quarterback, who might be playing a role this season.
Okay.
But the 2 players that they're talking most about out of Eagles camp are the 2 big boys. You've got Javon Hargrave, who they signed last year from Pittsburgh as a defensive tackle, number 93 for the Eagles, who is apparently lighting it up. They were hoping this would happen last year. He's doing it this year. And then our guy, we've always had a fun time with Jordan Mailata on this show. Guys, Jordan Mailata is going to be starting at tackle.
He's getting screen time in these preseason games.
4 years after the fact of when we had fun with him from the player program, that he was an international player, and how funny that he was a rugby guy. Jordan Mailata has been a dominant force at tackle. Guys, he might be getting a huge contract extension in the future.
It came true.
I mean, he is a blindside tackle that is a monster that has finally polished and become that player. So the biggest question is the quarterback, and I don't know. Look, I don't know if Jalen Hurts can go 17 weeks. And he's a great leader. He's a great player. He's not going to be necessarily the first pick in any NFL draft, but there's a lot around him, and he's a great leader, and they can build an offense around him. I'm not going to be the one to say the Eagles can't do this because it is a wide-open NFC East, and the amount of inertia and positive energy coming out of their camp this summer, it's real.
It is, and so is the Jordan Mailata news.
Isn't that cool?
Like we're like proud parents. That's amazing. If you watch the show for years, you get it. We go back years with this guy. I do think the Eagles will be very relevant at the end of December, because we got to see if they're going to be first in line to get Spencer Rattler for Oklahoma. I'm just joking. That's a bad joke. It's mean. I had to zig a little bit. I was listening to NFL radio yesterday on Sirius. You know who was on there? John Clayton, the professor. And he's going off on the Eagles, and he's saying, there is not one person anywhere who believes in the Eagles. Not a single person will pick them to win the division. And I tend to agree with the second part. We're only a few weeks away from division picks and stuff like that. I don't think in our whole network media group, I don't think anyone will pick the Philadelphia Eagles to win the division. And that's a division that's like not exactly robust. Here's where I come out on them. Peter had some great new additions and some deep dives. Who right now is the best, most reliable, proven player on the Philadelphia Eagles offense? It's probably, it's either Kelsey, it might be Brandon Brooks, who's got hurt again, it might be Lane Johnson. Those are the guys. Who's their best, most reliable player on defense? I think, again, it's probably Fletcher Cox. So these are like old school, like holdovers from early Doug Peterson. Like, those are mainstays, but is that enough to win the division? I think most teams have 1 or 2 guys that really got to make a leap this year for them to make the playoffs. I think the Eagles have like 6. There's so many guys who are like, wow, 2021 was a great year for me. It's not only Jalen, it's Miles Sanders, Darius Slay has to be better. The list goes on, and all these receivers, they got to make a big jump. I think if we're talking about the Eagles like, wow, at the end of December, bad news. Daniel Jones did not really work out. Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't a thing, and the Cowboys' defense was not as good as it needed to be. There's a lot of work to be done for Philadelphia. I'm not going to pick them myself. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Sean, can you imagine anybody looking at the Eagles this year and be like, playoff team, put their name on it?
Yeah, there's too many questions. Jalen Hurts right now. He's learning a new offense. And while it's great to see the one-on-one plays where he's throwing the ball to Jalen Reagor, you know, that's just individual drills. I go back to the relevant term, all right? The Eagles have been relevant at the end of the season 2 years in a row now. 2 years ago, I watched Carson Wentz. We all did. Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz win the division at 9-7 with Greg Ward as their receiver. I mean, they were scraping the bottom of the barrel from a receiver standpoint. Last year, you guys know what happened to that offense? Look, don't blame Carson Wentz. He's not there anymore. You can't blame Doug Peterson. But the reason why those 2 guys aren't there is because this offensive line was ravaged with injuries. I love that you're giving Jordan Mailata love right now. because they're going to be the biggest factor in their relevance. When you go back to last year, the Philadelphia Eagles started more offensive line combinations as the starting line than any team in the last 30 years.
Is that right, Sean?
14 different starting combinations. You guys think you have a rotating chair right here. Yeah. Imagine being the quarterback, going into the huddle and saying, oh, who are you? Oh, Jack Driscoll, nice to meet you, my right tackle. Point. By the second half, it's a different tackle.
This was not last season. 30 years that was.
In 30 years, that's the most different starting combinations you've had as an offensive line. So imagine trying to run an offense. Imagine being a quarterback and walking in and seeing that. Imagine being a coach, trying to run plays and saying, guys, we ran this play. Oh, no, you've only run this play 5 times. We ran it thousands of times, but you've only run this 5 times. It's not easy to do, and that's why we saw so many different things. So their offensive line's got to be healthy if they're going to be relevant.
Do you have more questions about the coach or the quarterback?
Good question.
The part of this, there's questions about everybody. Like Dak Prescott, healthy, crushing it at the beginning of last season. This Cowboys team still struggled to win games. Washington won the division with a losing record. There's questions and weaknesses in everybody. But it's that glaring quarterback coach thing that's kind of a mystery. What's behind door number 3?
I know.
Which question is bigger?
I think it's got to be the quarterback. Because if you're a really good quarterback, the coach can sort of be a passenger. Put it this way. Which would you rather have be great? That Sirianni is some sort of genius coach, or that Jalen Hurts is, the next all-pro? I'll go with the quarterback.
They have an out, though, because next year they have their own 2 first-round picks, one from the Dolphins from the trade, and then their own. And then the thought was if Carson Wentz played 70% of the snaps, they'd get a 3rd one. At the very least, they have 4 picks in the 1st and 2nd round next year if they want to move up to get a quarterback. So this is kind of like the deal for Jalen Hurts. You're the number 1. This is your career. What do you want to do with it, pal? He is the guy, but that might be short-lived if it doesn't work out.
Do you look at Wentz any differently last year based on what Sean just said? I'm just sort of rethinking that. The most combinations in 30 years?
He got hit more than anybody in 12 games.
That's wild, Sean.
I don't like the whispers out of Philly about Wentz and his leadership last year, that you'd hear things that it wasn't necessary. He didn't handle it all so great.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Can you tell me the whispers about Jalen Hurts? So what's going on? Like, what do they think of him down there?
Great. I mean, they could run an offense with him, and he's a great leader. The question is, can he pass in big games? Can he make it happen? And that's not questioning his college career or anything going back, but this is a complicated offense that we've seen Phillip Rivers run very well over the years. You're inserting a second-year quarterback who's never been a starter in the NFL and saying, hey, run that offense now. And that's going to be tough right from the go. But you know what? They can be creative, and they've got a lot of skill positions.
Real quick, it feels weird that we didn't really talk about Zach Ertz.
Does it? I don't know. I'm tired of talking about it. I don't know if he's still on the Eagles. He's still there. It feels like this network has talked about Zach Ertz being unhappy for 3 years, and it's like, guys, he's still playing for the Eagles. Let's worry about what he does on the field.
And he might be their best offensive player, most consistent.
Maybe.
So it's him, it's Goddard. You guys are saying the offensive line probably is better. It sounds like a talented team. All we need is Jalen Hurts to put it together and take a step from last year to make it happen for Philly.
Don't forget about Booby.
Yeah, more Good Morning Football on the way. Tua looking to